Stav Shaffir, thank you very much for joining us today on The Candidates.
Thank you for having me.
At age 29, you were the youngest member of Knesset. Now, you joined politics 2 years ago in 2013 after having led the hugely popular social protests that got almost 500,000 people onto the streets of Israel. Now, within 2 years in politics, you've shot right up to the 3rd place in the Labour Party list, which makes you 4th on the Zionist Union joint list. What is it about you that you think makes people so inspired or satisfied with the work that you do?
You know, as being a young Israeli, I'm part of a generation who is not really believing in our politicians. For so many years, we felt disappointed from our political system. We saw so much corruption in our political system. We saw ministers in prison and former president in prison and former prime minister on his way to prison. And we felt for so long that we don't have a true representation in parliament. For me personally, it caused a great dilemma on whether to join politics or not following the protest movement. And when I finally decided to get into politics, I did it because I felt that if we won't do it ourselves, nobody is going to do it for us. And since then, I just worked extremely hard, also aiming to be as transparent as possible about everything in the political process, making the Finance Committee open for the public to see what's going on inside, working in order to open and make our national budget completely transparent, and also being transparent in my own way of working, and trying to make politics much more open for the Israeli society.
Do you think that's the future of Israeli politics then, creating a more open system?
Definitely. I think that before we are even able to get enough money for the causes that we went 3 years ago to protest on, before we even get enough money to solve the housing problem and to solve the problems that we have in our education system and in the healthcare system, we have to clean our system from that corruption, because the corruption is stealing Israelis' tax money.
Right, you spent a lot of your work in politics so far focusing on exposing the money that is transferred, the Israeli tax money that is transferred to the settlements. Now, are you of the opinion that without the settlement enterprise, we could have more social justice for the rest of the Israeli public?
That would simplify the core issue that we're confronting.
What is the core issue, as you say it, about settlements?
When I got into the Finance Committee, I discovered that Israel has 2 budgets. One budget that is being passed legally on the Knesset floor, and another secret budget that is being transferred in the Finance Committee secretly, sometimes with no Knesset members even sitting inside, and with no supervision on where this money is going. The total of that money in the last year is of 64 billion shekels. That would count to almost 15% of our national budget, and this is a lot of money. This money could be spent fairly between the citizens of Israel wherever they live. However, the government is using this money to change its priorities. It doesn't tell the citizens who live in the periphery, in the Negev and in the Galil, that part of their money is moving unequally to the settlements. In the last year and a half, the government transferred 1.2 billion shekels as a bonus to the settlements, on top of the budget that they get in the beginning of the year. The citizens in the Negev and in the Galil in Israel could only dream about that money.
So would you say that that is the money that needs to stop going to the settlements and start going to other places in Israel?
I'm just saying that the money should be divided equally between all the citizens of Israel. I think that every citizen deserves to get an equal share.
I'd like to talk to you about your future ambitions in politics. Now, if the Zionist Union does build the next Israeli coalition, you could very well find yourself in a situation where you're offered a ministerial position. Now, with only 2 years' experience in politics and not that much professional experience prior to that, do you think that you would be ready in the next government to head a ministry?
Look, about the question about the experience is really an interesting question. You know, when I just got into the Finance Committee at the age of 27, being the youngest person to get elected into Knesset, I sat there for a few months and I told myself, just listen. Learn from the experience and the knowledge of the people around you. And I sat there for months, listening to the people in the Finance Committee, spending all my nights reading the national budget and reading every little part of that. And when I started my struggle on transparency in that budget, many of the people who had the experience came to me and advised me to not touch that. They told me, don't do it. It's not good for you politically. You shouldn't talk about these issues. Talk about something else. Do something different. Don't touch that. Because so many of them were, with their experience that I have a lot of respect for, but we're actually using some of that experience to collaborate with the corrupt system.
So do you think then the fact
that
you...
sometimes it's good that some unexperienced people are joining the system as long as they can learn the material fast and efficiently. What we're doing today is to do our best to win these elections and be able to start and fix the Israeli society and to take Israel to the right direction. And after the elections, I will be in the place that I will be able to influence in the best way possible and to continue my fight for greater transparency and to continue my fight for more equality and lower, smaller socioeconomical gaps in the Israeli society. This is what I'm doing. This is why I'm in politics.
Let's talk now about social media, just very briefly. You are not only very socially aware, but you're also very aware of the power of social media. Now, you use Facebook and Twitter in various ways. What do you think is the best way for politicians to get the most out of the potential of social media?
I guess it's just to be very honest and very direct. Social media is working, I think, in the best way when you use it in a positive way to describe your actions, to make your actions include more people.
And what about listening back from the people? Do you think it's a way that the public can communicate back?
Exactly in that way. When I started, in every legislation that I tried to pass, in every bill that I put on, that I try to pass in Knesset, the first thing that I did was to go back to the public and ask people, how do you want this to look? How would you improve that? What ideas do you have? What would you like me to do for you? I'm the representative. This is my job. This is what I'm doing. I'm working for the people in Israel, and they, and the more that I that I use their advice, the more ideas and dreams that I collect from them in order to put them in my bills and in my work in Knesset, they will feel much more connected to the political society.
In a sense, it's like crowdsourcing your policies.
I think so, because I think that, again, you know, it's going back to the beginning of the interview, Israelis feel like they feel a little bit abandoned by their government, and they're feeling this for years. And in order to improve the access to politics, in order to make people much more aware, in order to make our democracy much stronger, we need to get them involved. We need to get them to be part of what we're doing.
Stav Shaffir, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
I'm Amiga, and you're on Haaretz.com.